Good morning. Welcome to a fresh edition of your Breakfast on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. We're looking at what the paper's story, of course, if you're in the country and even beyond the developing story of the abducted girls, Catholic girls in a Catholic school in Kwara has continued to trend. And this came after a few days after the abduction of some school children, school girls in Kebbi State. That's the leading story on today's leadership newspaper and, of course, other papers we have on our lineup this Monday. Today is November 25, 2025. And, of course, my name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host of the program. Without wasting much time, let's move to Nigeria's most influential, see what the papers has on its menu. Alleged $1 billion Nest Oil debt claim, First Bank, Access Bank, Zenith Bank MDs risk imprisonment over disobedience of court order. Of course, there is an advertorial atop the masthead of leadership. Most of the spaces today on leadership cover is taken by advert by that same Nestor Limited in receivership. Lastly, on the cover of Leadership this Monday, newspaper proprietors elect Guardian's Lady Alex Ibru, president, as leadership chairman joins executive. And that story continues on page 7 of Leadership newspaper. However, let's move to the leading story on today's leading newspaper, Leadership newspaper, which is 38 abducted Kwara church worshippers released. Niger students who escaped captors listed. Let's take some excerpts from that leading story. The story is on page 4 of Leadership. Terrorists of the Islamic State West African province, ISWAP, have abducted 12 female teenagers in Askira Uba local government area of Borno State. Deputy Speaker of the Borno State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Abdullahi Askira, confirmed the abduction, saying the victims were taken from their agricultural fields in Musa district. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Nahum Dasso, said the command had launched an investigation into the incident. He said there was an abduction yesterday in Askira Uba. Suspected Boko Haram members abducted 12 young females when they were returning from the farm. This is a developing story coming all the way from Borno State, where ISWAP has abducted 12 female teenagers in Askira Uba local government area of Borno State. Meanwhile, Abdullahi, who represents the Askira Uba constituency, said the 12 abductees aged between 15 and 20 had gone to their farmland in the Musa area to harvest crops when the Iceland seized them. He explains that both Huhim and Musa were farming communities in Askira Uba local government area, but the government had relocated the residents of Huhim to Musa due to security concerns. He said the victims are among those relocated to relatively peaceful community of Musa to earn their livelihoods through joint community farming. One of the victims managed to escape and was reunited with her family on Sunday morning. But the other 12 victims, mostly between the ages of 15 and 20, are still in the custody of the abductors, whose whereabouts remain unknown. Of course, it's like a season of abductions across the country, and there is so sad. The senator representing Borno State, Mohammed Ali Udume, called on security agencies to intensify efforts to safely rescue the victims unharmed. Meanwhile, 38 church worshippers regained freedom in Kwara. The leading story on today's leadership. The 38 members of the Christ Apostolic Church, CAC Eruku in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State, who were abducted last Tuesday, have regained their freedom. Chief Press Secretary to the Kwara State Governor, Rafiu Ajakaye, disclosed this in a statement on Sunday, saying the hard work of the authorities had paid off. The statement reads, after many days of hard work by security forces and government representatives, His Excellency Abdurazak is excited to announce the freedom of 38 persons who was recently abducted in an attack on Christ Apostolic Church, CAC Eruku, Ekiti local government area, Kwara State. The governor says this is wholly due to the hands-on approach of President Bola Tinubu GCFRO, who has personally led the efforts to free the abductees. The abductees were free today, 23 November. The governor is immensely grateful to President Bola Tinubu for his direct initiative that made this happen. We just saw some excerpts from today's leading story on leadership. 38 abducted Kwara church workers released. Niger State students who escaped captors listed among those that were released, the church workers that were released. However, it's a sad story that the ISWAP has also abducted 12 female teenagers in Borno local government area, in a local government area of Borno State. We move ahead to page 3 of leadership, where we have our stand. These are daily review every day on leadership newspaper review. We review the editorial, the stand of the paper, and today's stand is on the resurgence of mass abductions. The resurgence of mass abductions. We'll also take some excerpts from today's stand. The resurgence of mass abductions in Nigeria's northwest has sent shockwaves across the nation, with 145 people kidnapped in Kebbi, Niger, and Zamfara states between November 13 and 17, 2025, followed by further incidents. The most harrowing during this period occurred on November 17, when armed bandits stormed the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Maga, Kebbi State, killing the vice principal and abducting 25 school girls during a pre-dawn raid. Just days later, on November 19, government attacked a church in Taraba State, killing 2 worshippers. Then on November 21, terrorists invaded St. Mary's Private Secondary School in Papiri, Niger State, abducting over 100 students from the Catholic institution. Let's go to the stand inside our stand. Critiquing peace deal effectiveness requires acknowledging their limited success. In some instances, like Sokoto's 2023 truce, short-term reductions in attacks allowed family resumption. However, without sustained enforcement, relapses occur. The Nigerian Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution knows that these lack community buy-in and intelligence integration, leading to betrayal. Comparative analysis with Colombia's FARC negotiations shows that successful paths include demobilization, reintegration, and development packages, elements absent in Nigeria's ad hoc approaches. Nationally, this resurgence demands a paradigm shift. Abandon ineffective deeds in favor of intelligence-led operations, as demonstrated by recent military success in Kaduna. Invest in community policing and socio-economic programs to address root causes like poverty alleviation in Zamfara. Further coordination through the National Security Advisor's Office could standardize responses, preventing state-level inconsistencies. Public calls align with social media, urging no more talks with terrorists. Today's stand in leadership, the resurgence of mass abductions. We just took some excerpts from today's stand. Without wasting much time, we head up to the back page of leadership, where we have Monday column with Joshua Ocheja, and today's writing on who is the queen of battles is a question posed by Monday columnist Joshua Ocheja, who is the queen of battles. Before we leave that, let's take some quotes from that Monday column. What we experience in the Northeast is asymmetric warfare. It is unconventional. It goes against the rules of engagement in warfare as we know them. It's more like fighting your shadows. It's important to know this. Quotes from today's column, which is asking a question: who is the queen of battles? We also have another quote from that column. The insurgents are no longer a ragtag group. They operate like a parallel force with chains of command and unhindered access to arms and ammunition, including high caliber weapons. They are experts in setting booby traps and carrying out ambushes. Today's quotes from Monday's column. Before we leave the back page, let's visit Ghana Must Go. On the news, Tinubu orders withdrawal of police personnel guiding VIPs. And of course, Ghana Must Go replied for the 100th time. Of course, we've been seeing such announcement, such order coming from presidency. However, the implementation remains to be seen. It's on that note we conclude review of leadership newspaper this Monday, November 24, 2025. Don't mind, I was trying to get ahead of my time by saying it's November 25th. It's actually November 24th. We still have at least 6 days to go before the month runs over. Don't forget to also head us to the website of leadership to read more on the leading stories. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup. Of course, it's also the same wraparound advert on the cover of The Punch. The Punch says mass abduction crisis. Tinubu pulls 100,000 policemen from VIPs. President meets service chiefs, defense headquarters reviews operations. 15 Niger pupils, 38 Kwara churchgoers freed. Same leading story in leadership. Beside the masthead of the Punch, audit uncovers over 61 billion naira payment breaches in NNPCL, and that story runs on page 34 of the paper. Audit uncovers over 61 billion naira payment breaches in NNPCL. Lastly, on the cover of the Punch, states pile up 1.06 trillion naira debt despite record allocations. That story is on page 31 of the Punch. For more, log into the website of the Punch newspaper. Because of the wraparound today on all the papers, most all the papers cover, they don't have too many stories on their cover. For more, log into the website of the Punch newspaper. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup this Monday, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard also has same story with leadership and even the Punch. It says 50 students abducted from Niger Catholic School have escaped coming from Khan. 38 kidnapped victims from Kwara Church regain freedom. Governor Abdulrazak comments president's hands-on approach. That story continues on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Tinubu orders withdrawal of police officers guiding VIPs. OK's recruitment of 30,000 officers. Leading story again on Vanguard. Tinubu orders withdrawal of police officers guarding VIPs. That was the main headline story on the Punch newspaper we reviewed earlier. Oyedepo to Christians take charge before genocide descends into anarchy. Oyedepo is the presiding bishop of Living Faith Church, known as Winners Chapel worldwide. It says, take charge before genocide descends into anarchy, he tells Christians. It's on that note we conclude review of front headline stories of Vanguard newspaper this Monday. For more, log into the website of Vanguard newspaper. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Same leading story. 38 worshippers rescued in Kwara. 50 students escaped from kidnappers in Niger. Tinubu orders withdrawal of police from VIPs. And that also concludes the review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Monday. For more, log into the website of Nigerian Tribune. We move ahead to the next and the last paper we have on our lineup this Monday, and of course is Leadership sister publication, National Economy. National Economy is a weekly business newspaper on the stable of leadership, and this week they only have one print every week. This week's print headline story says, World Bank rolls out funds chain, blockchain technology for Nigerian projects. World Bank rolls out funds chain blockchain technology for Nigerian projects. Pension assets break 26 trillion naira mark amid market turbulence. And main headline story, Nigeria's failing system triggers urgent demand for multimodal transport. Experts warn crumbling roads, choke points, stored rail rings will strangulate economic growth. Kicker to that leading story, Nigeria's failing system triggers urgent demand for multimodal transport. As experts warn, crumbling roads, choke points, stored rail rings will strangulate economic growth. Still on the cover of National Economy, how Nigeria's cost of governance is crippling fiscal. And these are the leading stories on the cover of National National Economy in print this week. For more of all the sports news, don't forget to log into the website of National Economy for news per second. Before we lead National Economy, let's just go to editorial. The editorial on National Economy says, antimicrobial resistance is silent threat to Nigeria's economic future. Antimicrobial resistance is silent threat to Nigeria's economic future. This week's editorial on National Economy. And that review also brings to a close the review of front headline stories, the editorial on National Economy, weekly business newspaper today and this week. Don't forget to log into the website of National Economy for continuation of those headline stories and, of course, inside pages. Well, viewers, is on this note we conclude today's November 24 review of newspapers on this segment, Newspaper Review on your breakfast show. inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ugbevo. Don't forget to join us same time, same station for another fresh edition of the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio.